You're tuning into the Journey to Your Best Self podcast, where we explore the past holistic well-being, personal growth, and living a fulfilling life. Each episode, we bring you insightful conversations, practical tools, and inspiring stories to help you integrate your mind, body, and spirit on your journey to becoming your best self. Let's dive in and embark on this journey together. Welcome back to the Journey to Your Best Self podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian O'Neill, joined by my co-host and one of your oneself's resident experts, hypnotherapist, life coach, yoga instructor, and fortunately for her, my sister, Tara O'Neill. Let's embark on this journey together. Today, we're thrilled to welcome Jen Rulon to the podcast. Jen is a true powerhouse in the world of women's fitness and personal transformation. As a 15-time Ironman triathlete, TEDx speaker, and seasoned coach with over 20 years of experience, Jen has dedicated her career to empower women to take control of their health and wellness. From competing in the Ironman World Championship to embracing life as a digital nomad in Costa Rica, Jen's journey is nothing short of inspiring. Her coaching goes beyond physical fitness. She helps women navigate life's changes, whatever they may be, with resilience and purpose. We're so excited to dive into her story and gain insights that will help all of us on our journeys to be our best selves. So, Jen, so much to touch on there, but welcome aboard.
Yes, thank you.
Brian, thanks, Tara. That was a great introduction. I might have to use that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like,
We
oh,
love
that's
to
me.
share here.
and we actually had to cut it down a little bit, so there's even
Yeah.
more to you that
Yeah.
we'll dive into.
I love it.
Yeah, for sure. That was a little bit of a background, but I think first what caught my eye, and maybe since it's been such a unique and inspiring journey with so many obstacles overcome and different goals met, can you go back to a little bit of the beginning and tell some of the audience how you got into, that whole Ironman world as a teenager? That's right,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
I was 17 years old. I was watching the Ironman World Championship on the ABC Wild World of Sports. And if you're around my age, you'll remember the tagline, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And you see that tumble, right? And I was watching Mark Allen and Dave Scott racing that day. And these guys were neck and neck the whole race. Now, let's back up. What is an Ironman triathlon? It's a 2.4 mile swim, a 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 marathon run. These guys were running 6-minute miles after the swim and the bike, and they were neck and neck. It was incredible. Mark Allen won that day. And then an hour later, Paula Newby-Fraser came in, the first female. And I thought, at 17 years old, I thought, well, if she can do it, I can do it. So I went back probably a month later. I went to Christmas, went and visited my grandpa, who is my mom's dad, World War II vet, just Purple Heart, just more of a father figure to me than my father. And I said to him, I go, Grandpa, when I'm 30 years old, I'm going to go to the Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii. And he said to me, this was when I was 17. He said to me, okay, well, when you go, I'll go with you. I'll be your sponsor. And I heard that and I was like, whoa, because I was the only granddaughter. I was, I was that inspired by Grandpa. But it's cool because writing my TEDx talk was probably some of the best therapy I ever had, because I didn't realize it was a twofold why of wanting to get to the Ironman World Championship or wanting to do an Ironman was because I wanted my dad's attention. I wanted my dad's attention because my brother was the all-American football player, basketball, baseball dude, homecoming king. I always give him crap about that. My dad and him, my parents were divorced. So my dad and him had this intangible bond through sports. And I thought, well, if I can do an extreme sport, maybe my dad will notice me. But the great thing is after I crossed that finish line the first time, I was like, you know what? I don't need my dad's validation anymore. I just validated myself. Now it's time to go chase those butterflies and chase that goal with Grandpa.
Beautiful.
Incredible. How much did your grandfather's belief in you play? A lot of people watch a buzzer-beating shot or home run in the World Series and think, well, I'm going to go play for the Yankees, right? Or I'm going to go
Right.
play for the Lakers. You actually did it. Was his belief in you with you throughout that process?
100%. I literally went back to Texas the other day, or in April, and I found a letter from him saying, when you go to Hawaii, I'll sponsor you. And I think I carried that with me the whole time. Now, let's back up. My grandpa passed away in 2001. And so when I was training for a race, when I was training for the World Championship in the Netherlands, it was a duathlon World Championship in the Netherlands. It was a duathlon. I was on Team USA, and I remember I'm out there training, and I just broke down and cried. And I'm like, my grandfather just passed. Like, why am I out here? And I crest this hill. At the time, I was living in San Antonio, Texas, and I crest the hill, and I still see it to this day. I saw a swarm of yellow butterflies just floating around me. And I thought, oh my gosh, my grandpa's still here with me. And so every moment that I have struggled with, that I have won, that I have needed help, I have seen butterflies throughout my whole life. Even at my wedding, there was butterflies. We released some butterflies. And even some of the darkest moments of my life on the race course and even in everyday life, I would see butterflies, and knowing that I had grandpa with me throughout and I still see my morpho butterflies here in Costa Rica, those big, gorgeous blue ones. That is my symbol down here. And so it's always reminding me that I'm on the right path. And just the other day, I saw a morpho, and I get so emotional, and people, it's a beautiful thing. So grandpa's has been with me for years.
Excellent.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think there's so much inspiration and beauty in that. There is a saying, and it goes along the lines, you only need one person in your corner, right? You can have a lot of haters, a lot of people that are, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. But I always go back to that. You only need one person. I mean, maybe once you become enlightened, you don't need anyone. But until then, just one. Like, that's it. Just find that one person that's going to be, yeah, you got this. You could do it, right? Be it a grandpa, a friend, a mentor, your kid, whoever it is. Just, that's it. That's all you need. And so I have to tell people that, like, if you're looking for like a bunch of people like cheering you on, maybe not. Just get that one and stick to that one. And then the butterflies will remind you of.
Yes.
For sure.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's another thing that we say a lot to audience, and Tara and I talk about this quite a bit. And perhaps when you become enlightened, you don't have to go chasing something or moving to a different location, but traveling is a big commonality with a lot of the people that we look towards and try to associate with ourselves, and helping them become their best selves, or helping them grow and develop. And you mentioned a couple of different states, countries that you went to. How did the process of traveling to compete and meeting different types of people that you might not have been around growing up make you who you are?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I absolutely love traveling, and sometimes I forget. I literally just got back from Italy about a week and a half ago, and I felt I upgraded.
Yeah.
Just I all of a sudden I'm like, wow, like I wasn't always in bikinis and workout clothes in Italy. Like, I actually had a hat on and makeup on and all that stuff. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I went to Australia, I went to Brazil, I went to the Netherlands, I did a whole bunch of races in the States. Wow. And I loved learning about all the cultures that I went to. And it opened up my world. It really did. It opened up my eyes. Even living in Michigan and going over to Wisconsin and then moving down to Gulfport, Mississippi, woo! That opened my eyes, especially
Sure.
back in the 90s. That really opened my eyes. And I was like, oh, I was very sheltered. And I wouldn't say sheltered, but I did understand what was going on because it was very tight. It was a very small little town that I grew up in.
Yeah.
So when I went down to Gulfport, Mississippi, it was a very different world. And then it made me realize, okay, there's a whole other cultures out there that I did not know anything about. And it was a beautiful experiences just learning about the countries and the cultures and out there. I mean, that's why I'm in Costa Rica. I love the culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And even how about you mentioned the up leveling, the energetics of it, the shifts that
Yeah.
almost happen naturally because you are changing your environment. There's things that are happening almost behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Can you explain that? I mean, even though it's a little bit of a hard thing to tangibly break down, but can you get the feel you might get when you're at, when you're in a beautiful country like Italy, it might
Yeah.
be a little bit different than if you're in the South or something along those lines.
Right. Yeah, I think this is a hard one because I feel that I feel like the women that I was around really upgraded me. The amount of laughing that we did as women, the amount of eating that we did. And we went to the Eat, Pray, Love pizza place in Naples. And I was like, I am gorging this whole pizza and I have a dress on and I don't care. And I showed my boyfriend, I was like, babe, look at this muffin top. It's amazing. Because back as a fitness person, as a nutrition person, I am very regimented. And so
Sure.
I wasn't regimented at all in Italy. I engaged and I embraced the food. It's funny, I embraced the history as much as I could. I realized I'm not a history person. We went to Pompeii. We did an hour and I'm like, okay, I'm good. It's just not my thing. And I'm like, I would rather go look at the beach or go shopping or just explore the culture and the food and the little side streets, that type of thing, gelato,
Yeah.
just things like that. And we were on a lemon farm, so we got some actual learning about the culture, which that was very informative.
Yeah.
To me, it was in 79 AD, or wait, AD or BC, I don't remember.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I don't hold on to that information, but that lemon farm was very informative.
Right.
So, yeah.
They say so the experience of the emotion. And it made me think of maybe a way to describe the energetics of it is nothing wrong with being in the States. But for me, when I travel, it's almost like I can put on a different mask that's maybe not the rigid American certain ways, certain values, certain structures, and certain beliefs. And you get to play let me play being an Italian for a little while, or let me play going outside my comfort zone, maybe eating a pizza that you wouldn't have otherwise had you been in your regular routine. So we could say that breaking away from the normal routine, which will lead me into a question that's really important for us, is the consistency, right? So I'm going to assume that you're probably not going to go on, a 30-day eating pizza every day, binge, right? But what if you have those weeks and how do you get back into it? So, and how do you trust the consistency now in yourself? And what does consistency even mean to you?
Sure. So when I work with clients, when I work with women, I always say, give me 90 days. We have to build a habit. Those habits will become non-negotiables. So I know when I go to the States, or if I go to Italy, or if I go wherever, I know I can sit there and enjoy the pizza. I can enjoy the pasta. But I also know I'm walking 10 to 12,000 steps a day in Italy. It's not, I'm not eating the processed stuff like maybe I would in the States. It's not, and I don't eat processed stuff in Costa Rica either. So I know that when I get back, when I land in Costa Rica, I know, like, okay, my workouts, I mean, even I flew back on a Monday. I got up because of jet lag. I was up at 4 and I'm like, shoot, I'll just go to the gym. Why not? I mean, and then I knew I had to get it back into my routine. I knew I had to work out between 11 and 1. I drink my water, 32 ounces of water every morning before my cup of coffee. Like it's getting back to those non-negotiables.
I
And
love that.
that's the key for a lot of people, is that once you develop those habits become non-negotiables.
Yeah. And to me, non-negotiables can be so easy because you don't have to think, well, should I do this? Should I do
Right.
that? Should I? And so that's huge. So I love that you added that. Thank you. Because the non-negotiables and the consistency can definitely tie together. So
Agreed.
what do you have some non-negotiables? I love 32 ounces before your coffee. Do you add lemon? Is it filtered? What is your routine?
Yeah. Yeah. So I wake up, I immediately grab a full thing of water. I do lime.
Okay.
It's lime here. And I'll do a tablespoon, no, a teaspoon, because a tablespoon I've tried and I'm like, of salt, like pink Himalayan
The
salt.
sea salt.
Or if I'm in the States, I'll grab some Redmond salt, which is one of the best salts I've had.
Okay.
And I will do, and I'm not sponsored by them at all.
Sure.
Anyways, but yeah, so I'll do that. I'll drink the 32 ounce of water while my coffee is brewing, go brush the teeth, just do your normal thing.
Yes.
And then I have a workout. I work out every day, Monday through Friday. And then if I'm not working out, I'm either surfing or walking or doing some type of cardio activity, some type of movement. And that is my non-negotiable. I also will drink something. I've realized I've been really tired and I'm like, the jet lag should be done, but I've been slacking on my water. And so I usually will drink 90 to 120 ounces of water a day.
That's great.
Wow.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. And then with the coffee, you don't have to share, but do you have a specific type that you like? Is it single source? Is it like, how do you know that it's clean and it's not overly
Yeah.
pesticided?
Yeah. It's here. It's in Costa Rica. It's organic.
True.
It's-
You're getting
I mean,
you're getting it from the
Oh,
source.
Yeah, you're
like
getting
I
it
get
from
it
the
from the
You're
source.
surrounded.
And I go down there, like we have a market on Saturdays, and I go down there and I will get 3 bags at a time. And he's always like, hola,
Yeah.
he's like, and so, yeah, oh my God, it's one of the best coffees I've ever had.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't plan on leaving Costa Rica, but I'm like, the coffee is legit. And a lot of people will like, well, what do you put in it? And so I do butter in my
Okay.
coffee.
Like, and
I do.
the Irish Gold or
Yeah, we don't have that down here. We don't have the Kerrygold, but it's very healthy. You look at the ingredients,
right.
it's like
Right.
milk.
Don't put margarine.
Right, exactly. It's non-salt. So
Okay.
I will blend that, and then another non-negotiable that I didn't even think about is that I take my then coffee to the beach, and I did this before I met with y'all, but I go on there and I sit and I have no phone and I just watch the ocean and just observe, whether I do a meditation, whether I just sit. Sometimes I'll even do voice to text for writing, or I'll even take my journal out there and write as well. But it's very important for me to just ground myself before my day starts.
Yeah.
So it's your version of the bulletproof type of
It is
thing that
correct.
you've.
I don't use the MCT oil because that does not do well on my tummy.
Yeah.
I just know.
I mean, it's great. That's a great example of modifying things to fit you, but still
Yeah.
keeping the macro idea, right, of the
You
keto
got it.
type of coffee.
One last question, because then the Brian can jump in, because I know he's got a lot about the exercises. But how about adaptogens? Have you played around with any of the lion's manes or the mushrooms or the ashwagandhas in terms of that? Like, I know sometimes that's the trendy thing with the coffees.
No, I haven't. I've done a cacao ceremony, and I know cacao is very popular in place of coffee, and it was great. But I'm sorry, I love coffee.
Yeah,
I stopped
of
drinking
course.
4.5 years ago, so if coffee's my addiction, then I'm
Oh,
okay
yeah.
with that.
You're allowed. You've
Yeah.
checked enough boxes off of your you're taking care of your mind, body, spirit. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
One of the things
Sure.
definitely, need to be catered. We're all individuals in a certain way, but I do think there are, bigger trends with caffeine. But when's your cutoff as far as, getting quality sleep, which you need, for
Yeah.
fitness? I mean, fitness is it's critical for muscle growth, burning calories more efficiently. Sleep is key. When is your cutoff during the day as far as caffeine intake?
Y'all will be floored, but I will take a cup of coffee at sunset. And sunset here is about 6 o'clock. And I can have a cup of coffee and be fine going to bed. Now, do I get up more often when I drink that cup of coffee to go to the bathroom? I do. And I have an Aura ring. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but this ring is fantastic. And last night I didn't have a cup of coffee and I slept a lot deeper than I
Wow.
did other times. So I'm starting to realize I need to pull back a little bit and cut off at 4 p.m., maybe 3 p.m., 2 p.m.
Sure.
And it's fascinating that you should say that, because a lot of what, I've been reading and listening to says that, even though, because of the tolerance you said, you're right, 4 years, a lot, in the States, coffee is just, it's almost like water with especially in some
Right.
professions, in some circles. So you do get a tolerance built up. And it's easy to say, well, I'll just sleep. I can still go to sleep
Right.
if I drink it. But something you said that's critical is the quality of sleep might not be there. So it's
Bingo.
amazing that you're doing this experiment in real time, anecdotally, and it's nice that you have an open mind to
For
changing
sure.
your view on it. I wanted to talk about, before we moved on, we talked about the places that you were competing, the different types of people too that you interacted with. What was the common or two characteristics or traits that the elite level participants had, right? I mean, just to qualify
Sure.
to a lot of these events, you're going to be elite. But was there something across the board that you noticed that all of them had either shown, or something that got them to that point, good, bad, or indifferent? I'm just curious as far as this is probably one of the reasons why, or she's got it, and this is probably one of the reasons why.
I mean, I think the biggest thing that I saw was we all had grit. We were gonna, if we didn't, in our minds, if we didn't push hard enough, we would have failed.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
It's almost a non-negotiable. Like you can't fail. You're just going in and you're not going to.
Yeah. And even when I qualified for the World Championship in Hawaii, there was a lot of there was a lot of people there, and me personally, I was just happy that I got asked to go. I didn't care at that point. I didn't care about my time or whatever. I wanted to do it because that's what I saw on the television. I wasn't there to win. I wasn't there to be in my top 5 of the age group. Like, those are some strong, crazy strong women. And at that point, I was in that 45 to 50, 45 to 49 age group. Woo, we were tough. So those, and even some of those women had a very strong masculine energy. And very competitive, very strong. And it wasn't a bad thing. But they were in the top 10.
Yeah.
And the training and consistency, right? And then that's also totally key, right? Those habits that you formed leading up to the events it's not one of those things where you can just, I don't want to already had all of our listeners from the South sign off. So I'm trying to think of a sport we can compare this to, like golf, or a sport that is not maybe as physically demanding. There's another portion that I've closed their browser, but you could maybe take a couple weeks off and then pick up and still hit close to par or close to, what your handicap is, right?
Sure.
But you can't just spend 3 months relaxing, or you're not really
Right.
being into swimming or biking, and then show up and expect to qualify. So can you talk a little bit
Correct.
about the preparation to compete at that level?
Correct. So for me to qualify to get to the Ironman World Championship back in the days that I qualified, because it has changed quite a bit, I had to be in the top 3 or top 2 of my age group, top 2 to 3 in my age group. And when I qualified at Ironman Mont Tremblant in Canada, I was 3rd in my age group. Now, I knew the woman in first got a slot at Ironman Texas. And so I knew there was 2 slots in my age group. And so I knew that I qualified, but I had to wait the next day to actually hear, hey, Jen, do you want to go to Hawaii? But when it came to the training, I mean, I was swimming, biking, running at least 3 days a week. So every week, so 3 swims, 3 bikes, 3 runs. And then I was adding 2 strength trainings a week as well. Now, when it got closer to the race, I probably pulled back and did body weight stuff and more mobility work type of thing, because you don't want to have a whole bunch of muscle mass on. And that's the thing. As much as I was swimming, biking, running, I wasn't going to bulk up. And I'm still not going to bulk up because I'm not taking steroids. I'm not eating 3,000, 5,000 calories, right? That's a whole other topic. That's a whole other conversation. But then whatever was my worst, I would add. For example, maybe I would jump in the pool and just do an extra 1,000, or I was actually a very good runner. Running was my jam, which is ironic because I absolutely hated running growing. I hated the presidential fitness test, the mile run. I was always the last girl or second to last girl, and I was clocking 9:30s. My girlfriends were clocking 6-7 minute miles, and I'm like, running shmoney. I hated it, but then I got really good at it. So yeah.
And that's a testament to you. You could shift your mindset to loving something you don't like, right? So can you talk to that, how the fitness and the mindset with some of the women that you work with, maybe they come and they say, I can't run, I can't do weights, I can't do this. And so, or I don't like it, I never have. Like, where do you even begin with switching their mindset?
Yeah, it's great because prime example, I have a client, Michelle. She was an endurance junkie as well. She was a cyclist, triathlete, runner, and she came to me beginning of the year. She goes, Jen, I know my body is changing. I'm going into that perimenopausal, menopausal. I know I have to strength train. And it's crucial for us as we age, everybody, men and women, we start losing our muscle mass 2 to 5% every decade, starting at 30. After 60 years old, it gets worse. We start losing the muscle mass at a higher rate, at a faster rate. So when women are going into the perimenopausal, menopausal phase, we want to pull back on the endurance and start focusing on that strength. So when she came to me, she's like, I need to pull back on the endurance. She goes, but I hate strength training because I don't know what to do. And so literally yesterday, she's like, I love it. She goes, I'm okay with just jumping on the bike twice a week, but strength training 4 times a week, maybe 5 times a week. And it's that shift. But I told her, I'm like, stick with me for 90 days. And then she stuck with me for another 90 days. And in between those 90 days, she actually had a knee surgery, and she wasn't expecting the knee surgery. But she's like, Jen, how you got me strong going into this surgery, she goes, blew my mind because I was back at it within 2 to 3 weeks after the surgery.
Right. Because
not hard,
sure, but because also, I mean, this could be another episode, but the benefits of it on your immune system, right? And
for 100%.
all the strength that's happening, all of the energetics that are happening within your body, moving that prana around in a more esoteric way, spiritual way. It's doing all the things. So that's amazing.
And the thing with strength training is that a lot of people forget, when you strength train and you leave the gym, the body is still taking care of what you just focused on. Up to 24 hours it can. So, if you're doing glutes on a Monday and glutes on a Tuesday, the glutes aren't recovered from the Monday's gym workout. You have to separate this out. And this is where I come in as a coach. I move things around. And same thing with running. If I have people that come to me, they're like, I hate running. I actually say to them, then why are you training for a marathon? Start off something slow, do a 5K.
Yeah.
See how that goes for you. If you like the 5K, great. Then let's look at a 10K.
Yeah.
But don't do something that you hate.
Yeah. I'm sure that's key for sure. And also to your point with the recovery, I think maybe even mentioning how it helps your blood sugar, and then how people probably notice, oh, my nutrition is I have to switch my habits, but it's happening a lot more easily because, well, one, you don't want to probably have McDonald's after your workout, but two, you're not having these ups and downs in your blood sugar. Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct. Yeah. And once again, I think I told y'all, the fitness, the nutrition, and the mindset is the glue that has kept me together mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And once you start that non-negotiable, you eat the same way. You don't even think about, I don't have access to McDonald's. I do, but I don't go.
Well,
and
not to call them out, because apparently I'm calling out all sorts of people today.
No offense.
Hey, that was the first thing that came to mind. McDonald's has some grilled chicken on their menu. But the point
being, McDonald's, they do deserve it. We actually were we were struggling to get to a practice coming back from a day trip over the summer, and we had someone in the car we were trying to get a salad for, and that wasn't even like an option to, on the menu. Like, yeah, it's just nothing. They're not even pretending to have like anything healthy. It's rough. But on to that point, right? And we're going to get into your, new stage of digital nomadness. People that are traveling, right? The summer is sadly passing a lot of us by. You just went on a lovely trip. People work and they have to go places for business. A couple things that can really challenge the consistency and commitment. You don't have access to your gym, right? Or the tools that you use at home. And then the diet piece, right? Because a lot of times when you're traveling, it's fast food, it's a lot of oils and things that make the food taste good at restaurants and really add to that. Throw the imbalance of the calories in, calorie out. There's a lot of these empty calories that you're going to eat on the road out there. So what are some tips, whether it's bands, body weight stuff, that you can keep of at least being active during vacations or on different trips? And what is maybe a go-to meal that's pretty accessible when you're on the road?
A prime example for me in Italy, it's great, but I took bands. I took booty bands for my stretching, and I took like little bit longer bands. And then I went upstairs and on the terrace, I did body weight workouts. And it was super easy. But another thing that I tracked, and I was making sure of it with my ring. Once again, I'm not sponsored by the ring, but not yet, right? I made sure that I was at least doing 10,000 steps a day. Now, it was very hard on the travel days, like on the flying overnight to Italy and then flying back. But I made sure that I was knocking out at least 10,000 steps a day. And so I would track that. And if I saw that I was like at 9,300, I would go downstairs in the lemon farm and just go back and forth for, until I got to that 10,000 steps. So that's something that everybody can do every single day, is track your steps. Right. Super basic, at least get movement 30 minutes a day on vacation. And then this is my favorite quote, I don't know who said it, but if it's important to you, you'll find a way. If not, you'll make an excuse.
Yeah. Yeah. We're smiling and because then people will say, oh, I don't have time. And really the answer is like, it's not that important to you then, right?
Exactly. And then another thing that I do when I travel is I go to grocery stores, and now they provided amazing breakfasts. They provided amazing dinners. We had a fine lunch as well. but I actually I love Greek yogurt, and it's is it the Fage? I always say it wrong. Fage.
Yes. And I say the same,
I think,
Faj.
right, Fage. And so I found it in Italy, and I was like, and I just grabbed it, and I grabbed that, and I grabbed some, and the place had some granola, and so I had 2 things of the Fage with some yogurt. I'm sorry, with granola, a little bit of carbohydrates, had a little bit of honey on there, had some fruit in there, and then for fat, I grabbed a couple eggs. And so I knew like I could eat that for the next 3 days because I needed more protein because I was eating a lot of carbs.
Sure.
Sure,
And
Italy,
that
that's
Greek
You know,
what they
yogurt,
Italy.
do.
so for people that maybe aren't that familiar, the Greek yogurt tends
Yes,
to have more protein than a traditional
protein.
yogurt. And
Greek
that
yogurt is
brand,
fantastic.
would you say tell people, okay, keep it under 10 grams of sugar per yogurt or 5, or can you,
Honestly, that Fage 0%, I don't think there's any sugar. I mean, it's plain.
amazing.
If you grab Greek yogurt that has fruit on the bottom or whatever, you're going to see so much sugar
Yeah,
based off of the fruit, but don't buy the processed fruit.
right.
Just grab some blueberries or
Grab a
blackberries.
peach.
Grab a peach.
Right.
Exactly.
Because what they're
Exactly.
doing is they're taking and they're adding high fructose corn syrup to a little bit
Bingo.
of fruit. So I agree. Grab a piece of fruit, grab the 0
Plain.
sugar yogurt or a little bit of honey. That's amazing advice. I mean, it is so simple.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't even realize, oh, there's fruit in it. It's like, well, no, you got to look at the label, make sure
Yeah.
you're checking
Gotta look at the
ingredients.
label. Yes.
All right. Let's talk about the next journey.
Yeah.
Was this forced upon you, or did you always want to be someone who wasn't tied down somewhere and you just had the idea, it's trendy, I want to become a digital nomad, or
Yeah.
the spirit moved you in some way, or
Right.
did you have to transition?
No. So I was in 2013 is when I started my online business. So I did it before it was cool in 2020.
Nice.
Yeah, we
And
assumed you
what
were
hap-
not jumping on the trends.
Yeah.
It's that Jersey
Yeah.
sarcasm.
No. But the thing is that I graduated with my master's in kinesiology and emphasis in exercise science. I was applying for jobs. I was working as an adjunct at universities, getting paid squat, and it was enjoyable. I enjoyed because I was talking about anatomy and physiology, which was fantastic. But then I would even apply for jobs, and they're like, "Oh, you're too qualified. Oh, well, we have a job for you, but we'll give it to you in 6 months." And I'm like, what am I doing? Just start your own business. So I did. I started JenRulon.com, and it was more based off of the triathlon space. So I was coaching triathletes, runners, cyclists. I wasn't doing much swimmers, ultra marathoners. So I was working with the endurance space, and I was coaching up to 20 athletes at a time. And then
Wow.
2020 happened. But the ironic thing about this all is that in 2019, I actually did my last Ironman. And hello. Hey, thanks, Apple. Appreciate that.
Apple's
for the
excited too.
listeners,
Apple's
we
excited.
just had some balloons and confetti go off.
Yeah. And in 2019, I did my last Ironman, and that's a whole other story about my aha moment there. But then I realized I came down to Costa Rica for the first time because I was like, I was going to come down here with my best friend. She couldn't make it, so I was sitting on the beach where I live right now, crying, thinking, "My God, I just spent 30 years of my life in the triathlon space. What am I doing? What am I going to do now?"
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do. And then in 2020, I actually wrote a book, and it was called Self-Motivation Strategies for Women. And I didn't really know I was going to be working with women. Well, I guess the universe knew.
Yeah.
I was just catching up to what I needed to start doing, right? And so then last year, I only had like 2 clients in the triathlon and running space, and I'm like, I have no clients coming up. I hired my business coach, Derek Johnson, who's phenomenal. And he was like, let's transition. Let's figure out what you want to do. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to coach everybody. Right. And then I realized, no, you are focusing on women going through a major change, and how can I help them? And that's all based off of the fitness, the nutrition, and the mindset. So
That's amazing. I mean, that you could say is the classic healer archetype. It's like, oh, I'm going to help everyone. A lot of people that are in this space of mind, body, spirit, we just want to serve and we want to help everyone. So could you say that was really helpful when you found that niche of women in that space?
100%. And I should also say this, and I brought up my husband or ex-husband, right? But I went through a divorce. And so when I made the decision, because I visited Costa Rica 4 times before I actually made the decision of like, I'm moving down here. Like we didn't have kids. And I thought, if I don't move down here now, when am I going to move down here? And so I put everything in a 5x10 storage unit, and I packed up, and I brought 3 suitcases, and I found a place to live, and the rest is history. And I went back in April and I went from a 5x10 storage unit to a 5x5 and just started releasing a whole bunch of things. And it's been beautiful. It's been a beautiful journey. So I've also experienced the heartbreak, and I am very transparent. I asked for the divorce. My husband did not want it, and I asked for it, and it still hurt. It was hard. It was hard as all get out. And, people are like, how did you get through it? I'm like, fitness, nutrition, mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's beautiful. And it's so important because we don't talk about it that often. I mean, more and more now, but
Sure.
in a way that is hopeful for people. I have a very similar story. My divorce the way I got through it was yoga and healthy eating and meditation. So very similar. Those 3
very
pillars
similar
are so helpful because you can fall into other not great habits, right? You might have people, oh, let's go out to the club, or you gotta meet somebody else, or you gotta do this, gotta do that. And so don't get me wrong, there was several months where I was like, what's going on? But eventually, once you have that like structure, then you can. So, and the first thing I want to do is tell women everywhere is you can do this and you will be okay. That's so inspirational, and I love that message. And where would you tell somebody to start that maybe thinks that's so far out of reach? What's one thing that they could do today? Should they go to a class? I actually followed you on Instagram, and I was doing some of your stretches. They can go to your Instagram. So some like micro tips when they're in the hole, or if it's empty nest, they're an empty nester.
Sure.
Or it's some sort of other loss, a grief, something catastrophic. They might not even know these coaches exist. What could they do to get started and get that hope, that inspiration?
Number one thing that got me through was expressing gratitude.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Expressing gratitude. When we were going through the hardest times, and it's crazy because I was writing a book at the same time when we're going to therapy. And honestly, like, I don't know if the book was my therapy, but I expressed gratitude. And I remember laying in bed, tears rolling down my cheeks because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was going on. I felt sad. We were arguing, all that stuff. And I just was like, thank you, universe, higher power, whatever your beliefs are, God. Thank you, universe, for providing the past, for providing something to learn about me. So I would always say, express gratitude in 3 ways: the past, the present, and the future. So I would say, thank you, God, for providing the past, for providing on who I am, what I've become, who I am today. Thank you for the now. Thank you for, prime example, talking to Brian and Tara, thanks for having the roof over my head. Thank you for being able to drink my coffee on the beach. And then thank you for my future. I have no idea what my future is going to bring, but what it's going to bring is going to bring more gratitude and more abundance.
The beautiful. Like you glow. Your glow is just like the universe is speaking through you, and that's beautiful. Hopefully everyone can see this glow that she just really gave, not even advice, but just ways to live by the past, the present, and the future. And to add on to that, with the past, because I was very fortunate because I very much enjoyed the time with my ex, and we were able to nurture all of it, and it was unfortunate, but maybe at the time I couldn't see that. So what I would suggest sometimes to people is maybe I'm not there yet, but I'm grateful for so many of those things. So, I think
I'm forever grateful for my ex-husband. 100%. Chris Rulon was an amazing man.
Yeah. And I think I do want to change the narrative. And I think you're changing the narrative that it doesn't have to be this anger. Like there's conscious uncoupling. I mean, the world is changing. We are starting to understand and evolve that everything is about growth. To me, this is Earth School. We're learning how to grow and evolve and to be our best self, but that doesn't mean we're in a toxic positivity sort of way.
Correct.
It's grateful for the good and the not so seemingly good. So that was such a beautiful message. I love that. The past,
Thank you.
the present, and we are very grateful for you. And this connection that you're bringing to us. Brian?
Yeah, I like how one of the great things that you do, and I can obviously say how it translates to excellent coaching, is you give people a profound concept, past, present, future gratefulness, but it's also something that's actionable and that they can apply. I mean, some people even have trouble starting how do I do gratitude at night before I go to bed, when I wake up? But then this gives them a nice framework to get started. 3 things, past, present, future, get started, and then work on building that habit, and then have that become a non-negotiable because it's making you feel so good. Can I ask about, I don't know if there's a giant no vacancy sign that you put on the beach. Can I ask why Costa Rica?
Sure.
It's a nexus. I mean, the little to moderate amount I know about it, it seems to have such an amazing, almost unidentifiable energy that is attracting some incredible people to it. Can you speak why you chose Costa Rica as a landing point?
Well, I told myself I knew San Antonio no longer served me and Texas no longer served me. I'm a water baby, so I knew I needed to be around water, and it was either going to be Hawaii, California, or Costa Rica. I believe I chose Costa Rica based off of the culture. I absolutely embrace the culture, the Latino culture, the food, the blue zone. I don't know if you've ever heard of blue zones, but
as far as aging and people living
so the blue so there are
lives.
I think there's 7. I think when I remember there were 5 to 7 blue zones. I think they've gone up to 8 now, don't quote me, but I live in the Guanacaste province and the Nicoya, and so blue zone is all about living longer, living healthier, living just with, I mean, it's crazy because you see how some of these people live and they're happy as all get out. They don't have the big house on the hill with the SUV and all these 4 or 5 cars. They are happy. My boyfriend and I will go out and surf, and we are the happiest human beings ever out on that water. And it's a very simple process. People are like, you don't have a TV? I'm like, why would I have a TV? I have a sunset that I could go to every night for my TV. So Costa Rica, I think it's the culture. I think it's the beaches, and I'm a big animal person. So the turtles around here, the animals, the birds, the butterflies, just everything about it. My mom came down for the first time in May because my mom and my brother didn't understand why Costa Rica. And so for the first time, my mom was like, now I could see why you live down here. And now I could see why you're down here, because this is you. This is who you are. And so I think I've really embraced the culture. And even a lot of people ask me about the language, and I'm immersing in the language, which is amazing. My boyfriend has a 4-year-old son, and I have really good conversation with him because it's super basic. And he's like, Jennifer, ¿dónde está el baño? You know, like super like, where's the bathroom? Like, you know, it's like we have, but that it works beautifully. And I immersed myself with a family here as well that is Spanish speaking. So, you know, I don't know. I was just very drawn to it. And I thought, you know, if I don't do it now, when am I going to do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Inspiring.
I mean, that's another
Thank you.
beautiful message to people that are, and not to say that they have to move there, but if they're like, oh,
No.
should I buy this new furniture for the deck or go to Costa Rica?
Bingo.
Maybe go to Costa Rica.
And that's I'm a minimalist now. It's amazing how, like one of my girlfriends that I went shopping with in Italy, she's like, oh my God, you shop with intuition. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, because you see something, and if that's not a heck yes, I need to grab it, you don't buy it. And she goes, I swear the next time the next store you go into, you're like, oh, that's what I want. Like, she goes, and so I don't have access to I mean, I do have access to Amazon, but the shipping fee is ridiculous. So I don't have access to Amazon. I don't go to Nordstrom's. I don't go to Lululemon. I don't, I live what I have in my, and then when I realized that some of the things that I no longer serve me, like some of the energy of like a couple of the dresses that I had that I brought from the States, I'm like, you know what? I don't need these dresses anymore. I want to donate to these people, or whoever wants them. But like, I don't have that constant gratification of buying crap.
Yeah.
And I don't need it.
Absolutely.
I don't need it.
Right. And I think many of us aspire to get to that. But I thought it was such a beautiful comparison, or maybe a correlation between how your storage unit got smaller as you shed some of your old identity, right? So it's really cool to see, yeah, you had this big storage unit and then it got smaller. And now you're like, well, I don't really actually need that, right? And so you're starting to, as you are living, right, you're living in a place where you feel at home, or even your family can see this is you. You're living it through your intuition. So it's very, very inspiring overall. So
Thank you.
That's not really a question. That's just me saying amazing. But can you speak to that anyone can do this?
100%. You just have to believe it.
Yeah.
And I don't expect people to pack up their things and ask for a divorce and move to Costa Rica. It was a process. And I have a podcast out there, the Everyday Healthy Human, but it's on hiatus. I don't even think I'm going to bring it back. It was a lot of work, y'all. So kudos to y'all for doing podcasts. Like it was just too much for me.
Sure.
For a single, because I would rather focus on, it's crazy. I get more followers on TikTok lives than I do on my downloads for podcasting. So anyways, but I did talk about my process on the Everyday Healthy Human. There's 4 episodes on about Costa Rica and my journey on why, the what else is there? Why the language barrier, and Costa Rica is not the cheapest country in Central America. It is expensive. Food is expensive, y'all.
Sure.
Like my Greek yogurts, they are not cheap, but
anything imported,
non-negotiable. It's a non-negotiable. So,
and I guess also, I mean, in the sense of becoming a minimalist, where like anyone
I see what you're saying.
Anyone can do that. Like we're not saying like get rid of all of your stuff.
Correct.
Like it's a process. Like, because
it's a process.
It's a attachment. It's learning who you are. And so that's where I guess what I'm saying is not to just leave everything behind and go to because you're going to have to, I tend to go jump from A to Z and then have to go back to B and do the rest of the alphabet. So what I like to encourage people now is start by maybe cleaning out the shed, right? Cleaning out your closet, donating things, getting rid of things you don't actually need. There's an expression, it's as above, so below. If maybe they're not ready to do a lot of meditation, a lot of inner work, starting with what their external world is, cleaner. That doesn't have to be minimalist per se. My point is that everyone, I want to just inspire people, everyone can do a little something to get closer to who they truly are in their heart and soul and spirit.
And I have a client who lost her son about 5 years ago. And since she's lost him, she's put the weight on. And I said, and we're working on this because it's a big task, because that bedroom has not changed. She has not touched that bedroom. And I was like, all right, this is what I need you to do. I need you to go in the underwear drawer, and I need you to let those I need you to pull that underwear out. You know, she's like, I can't let go of his puzzles. I go, we're not there yet, but I need you to go to the sock drawer and empty the sock drawer. And once we start eliminating those things, she's going to start seeing the weight dropping off as well.
Yeah, that's beautifully said.
A lot of stress is being held on. Actually, when I released, when I went from the 5x5 or 5x10 to 5x5, I lost almost 3 pounds.
Wow.
That's for someone that is very, very fit.
With the same workout regimen,
right. So if you
same
take
diet.
that ratio to somebody that maybe struggled with their weight, that would have been significantly more.
Yeah.
But absolutely.
So I let go a lot of things. I mean, I let go of books and CDs. I took them to half-price books. I took all my triathlon stuff, all of it, other than my bike. I haven't figured out about my bike. I donated it to a university. And I had wheels, I had a pump, I had bike helmets, I had clothes, I had everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, bam. And they were like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, yep, it's yours. No, I don't need it anymore.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if our listeners or if you would agree with this, because that was such a great analogy with the starting with the underwear drawer. If on a scale from 1 to 10, because we had a wonderful woman on earlier podcast about forgiveness, and she said forgive the number ones before the tens, right? The tens are the ones that are hardest to forgive. The ones are somebody that cut you off. So the underwear drawer could be maybe a 1. The puzzles could be an 8, 9, right? So if we start with the things that we maybe need the least, could you say that's a great place to start to work your way up to the hires?
For sure. And that's what I'm trying to work with my client is like, let's go, even let's go into the bathroom and take out the expired shaving cream that he had, or whatever that might be, things that don't even, that no longer serve her.
Yeah.
So yeah,
absolutely.
On that note, reminded me of a question that we always ask, and I want to do it before we wrap.
Sure.
That was, Catherine Giovanni. She had an amazing scale of 1 to 10, and she was an author as well. You have a couple of really helpful books. You had to write the talk, the TEDx talk that you gave, but was there a book or an author recently, or maybe during one of those pivotal points that really had a great effect on you that you could share with our listeners?
The Alchemist. Love it. One of my, I get goosebumps about The Alchemist. And Paulo, I know I'm going to botch his name. Paulo, but I literally just heard, something like that.
Yeah.
I remember reading it one time when I was younger, and I'm like, what is this all about? I don't get it. And then the second time I read it, it was when I was getting ready for the Ironman World Championship, and it said, the universe will conspire oh gosh, what is that quote? The universe will conspire to make it happen
for you. I remember wanting to go to sleep and get those coordinates.
So here it is. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. Paulo Cole, I don't know how to say his last name, but The Alchemist is one of the best books, and I will pull that out usually maybe once a year. I'll do it on audio now, but I have one. Oh, here it
Yeah.
is. Not that you guys.
And I love how you
Oh,
said,
perfect. Yeah, we'll definitely
and
link
it's
to that as well for listeners.
Yes.
I have it written, I have it highlighted. I let the universe catch up with my dreams. I still have my Ironman Hawaii. I know I don't know if you do video, but I still have
We do, yes.
so somebody went and decorated my house after I qualified for the Ironman World Championship because everybody knew how important that was to me. So I still have these like things that were decorated in my house.
Now that's a true minimalist, right? The one memento is
Yes,
about
yes.
3 inches by like the
Exactly.
width of a.
Right,
Yes.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Can
But
you
it's
tell us,
yeah.
you have a few books, but can you tell us a little bit, give us a sneak peek of the new book?
So the self-motivation strategies for women is something that I wrote with a publisher, and the other two that I did was self-published. And even my one book, like the one with the strength training, I'm like, oh, that's not very good. But that's okay.
You gotta
It's how
start
I had to
somewhere,
learn,
yeah.
right? Right. I had to start somewhere. But the third one was with a publisher, and I do not get any residuals from it. It was a pre-written. But what I love about the self-motivation strategies for women is it's one of those books that you could open it up and be like, bam, this is what I need today. Or, and I was on a TikTok live and somebody was like, oh, you wrote a book? And I said, yeah. And then I did the same thing. I opened it up and I read a little bit of my book for them on the TikTok live. And they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. And so that book it's not just for women, but it's also for men, but it gives tips and tricks on the fitness, the creativity side, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the community side. And you can journal, you can write, you could do a whole bunch of things. And there's just questions that, you might want to ask yourself. Sometimes in the beginning, there's something called a priority pie, and have them fill out like, what is the priority? What are you currently doing? And what do you want? So I think something that, my ex and I did is we did an amazing job with our fitness because he was a triathlete, qualified for the world championship as well. He's a lawyer, so we did really good in our jobs. But I think we could have done a much better in our communication with our relationship. 100%. And that's something I share a lot. So if I were to have done that priority pie during the beginning of our relationship, I would have been like community or communication with him. And I think we just pushed that away, pushed it aside, and we swam, bike, and ran away our issues.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Beautiful.
That really leads into my final part. And there are coaches out there. There are so many people, especially here, that need your help, right? That need to get fit, that have a lot going on. But there are definitely other coaches out there. It's evident to me, and it's obvious to me that you're going to do such a great job with all your clients. And it's so much more. You're combining the basics of fitness, the water, the calories in versus calories out, the just getting into the habits, commitment, walking, the weight training and the cardio, but also you have the mindset component to it as well. Like, so can hype yourself up and explain to what's different about the one-on-one program, explain how that would work, what separates you, Jen Rulon, from, others that are out there.
Yeah. I am a been there, done it type of girl.
Yes, we've heard a little bit.
The trophies. You
Obviously,
got the
little,
trophy.
right.
You got the medals.
Right. I have the medals. That is one big thing that I think is the difference. I'm not a influencer who gets sponsors by a whole bunch of whatever that might be. Like I've done it. I've been there. I'm a no BS type of girl too. I will call you out on if you're not getting the workouts in, if you're giving me excuses, if you're telling me, oh, I'm not getting what I need to get from you. It's like, well, guess what? You haven't been working out. I look at the facts. I look at the data in the app that I use. So that's a little bit about me. I am a cheerleader. I also understand, but I am also a person that's going to be, no, if you want results, this is what you need to do. right? I'm also accountability. There are three things that I see in my programming. One is a game plan. You have to have a game plan. And that game plan could be fitness, nutrition, everything, right? That's the game plan. Second is the knowledge. I have the knowledge as an athlete. I have the knowledge as getting my master's degree, but I have a knowledge because I'm doing it myself currently. And then the third is accountability. I talk to my clients once a week, every time. They have to sign up for my calls. So if they were like, oh, you're not, I reach out to them Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I will be like, all right, where are we at? What's going on? I don't chase them.
Mm-hmm.
They have to sign up for their calls. They're an adult. I'm not a babysitter.
Mm-hmm.
They're an adult. So, but I want to see my clients succeed. That's the thing. And I think that's sometimes hard because I am that person that really wants to see them succeed, but I also have to understand they have to go through their own journey themselves.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, you are, and you're living it, right? And that
Yeah.
to me, that's one of the biggest differences. You are living what you're practicing, what you preach, right? And
Correct.
so it speaks volumes in and of itself. So thank you for the work that you're doing for humanity, right? It's beautiful, it's inspiring, your energy is contagious, and
Thank you.
I've enjoyed this thoroughly. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. We've learned a lot and really connected. Please do stay in touch. Lastly, reminder, they can reach you online. What's the best spot?
You could go to jenrulon.com. I am actually upgrading my website finally after many, many years. So I'm working on that. But jenrulon.com, you can actually go to the application. There's a type form application. After you fill out that application, I will send you a message via text and I'll say, here's my calendar. Let's sign up for an hour call. Let's have a deep conversation. If you're not ready for the application process, I totally get it. You could go to Coach Jen Rulon on Instagram. You could go to Coach Jen Rulon on TikTok. And I'm on LinkedIn on Jen Rulon. I'm on Facebook as well. But where most of my social is Instagram and TikTok.
Great. Yeah. And even if you just start out by doing some of her exercises on Instagram, I mean, she's ready for you.
I am. I try to give every Friday. I try to do a fitness Friday, and I try to give out a free workout for y'all. Just
beautiful.
if you could take
excellent.
it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, yeah, absolutely. Like Brian said, we've been so blessed. Keep in touch.
Thank you.
Look forward to connecting again soon.
Super.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Tara. Appreciate you.